Hey, just checking in. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So today has been a good day for me. Just relaxing a little bit here. And some administration. Yesterday I had a big day talking to a client. We went on a walk and a lunch and a long coaching session. And it's nice to sometimes go in a little bit deeper together. And when you talk longer, sometimes you can find a sort of threshold where, on one hand, sometimes when I work with people, an hour and a half, which is a little bit longer maybe than some coaches do, but which I really like, can be a little bit. Can even feel a little bit short because there's lots to work on, there's lots to do together, but a little bit longer of a period together sometimes might create a little bit of overwhelm or might be a bit too much. But yeah, a couple of hours sometimes is just better than an hour and a half session. But for me, that really depends on my client and where they're at and what they want in that moment. And some clients like me to be direct and do a lot. Some clients, it's more like a gradual process, you could say. And I think what I realized for myself was, I think this healing tendency, or us wanting to heal some of the things that are limiting us, that are frustrating us, that are annoying us, that are making us angry or sad. Those are the things we often blame on the outside perspective, right? But usually it's our inside perspective. So usually it's not really so much the problem what the other person does, but it's like what it triggers inside you. Right? A certain feeling, a certain, let's say somebody touches something, as in they say something where they say, I don't like this, for example. Let's say your partner says something, I don't like this. And you can have a big response to that because it triggers other times when you've been rejected or disliked or bullied or you had a painful past. And a lot of people of course have that, but a lot of people have different triggers. So it's really interesting always to look at what are those triggers and can we see them in a new grown-up perspective, because usually these triggers are built when we were smaller. And I think most of our suffering comes from one or two or three of these like big happenings, big sort of pains or trauma centers, you could say, in our lives. And they change us. And why do they change us? Not because the external environment keeps going, but because the internal environment is sort of stuck at that place. You can say trauma is sometimes one way of calling that, which I've heard, is like an unprocessed memory, where basically your brain cannot really process what happened, and we choose an interpretation which can also hurt us. So if we keep that interpretation and project that on all these other situations, maybe with a negative self-image, then we get, a bad result. But yeah, I just love having these longer sessions with people, and I sometimes work with a colleague of mine, Flores. He's amazing. He's an amazing listener. He's an amazing observer. He can ask beautiful questions. He's such a nice guy. And so this was a session also with him. So sometimes we can do then tango. I tend to talk a lot more, but then maybe sometimes I tend to advise a little bit more, or tend to try to confront or trigger or name some of the things I sense or I see or I hear. and he tends to ask more questions. I think that is a beautiful addition to each other. So yeah, I'm really curious to see where you're at. Are you working on healing currently or not at all? Maybe you feel really whole and relaxed at this moment, I hope. And yeah, much love to you wherever you're at. Bye.